Hello, good afternoon everyone. I'm Dris Aendekerk. I'm a director at Emeritis at Deloitte Business. Emeritis has a team of about 50 consultants specialized in HR technology, more specifically within the SAP ecosystem. Now, I assume that most of you have already heard about the Global Human Capital Trends report that we do on a yearly basis. It's a report that focuses on the top global workforce trends every year. With more than 9,000 respondents in almost 120 countries globally. I think this is a very insightful report, but I'm not going to talk too much about it. My colleague Yves van Durme has already discussed this last Monday. I would like to zoom in on three specific trends within that human capital trends report. The first one is AI and HR technology and how AI can create super teams and how HR technology is helping you to become a super team in human resources. The second trend I would like to zoom in on is skilling and reskilling, which is becoming more and more important in a future that is changing at a faster rate. And the third one is maybe the most important one, is about well-being and belonging. And certainly in a post-COVID-19 situation, this is a key trend where also HR technology has an important role to play. But let's start with artificial intelligence. Now, artificial intelligence, and that is a key message, is not something of the future. It is here already today. Artificial intelligence is influencing how, which content did you see when you are navigating your social media, but it's also helping the government to combat the COVID-19 crisis, making predictions on the next virus outbreak. But also in HR, artificial intelligence has made an impact. Now, the critical question is not how is it impacting our jobs? No, the critical question is not will it impact our jobs, but more how is it going to impact our jobs? Many people are quite negative and they say robots will take over our jobs and we will all be unemployed in the foreseeable future. Now, when we look at the Human Capital Trend Survey, we see that only 12%, 12% of our respondents believe or are using AI to replace their current workforce. The majority, 60%, they believe that AI is supporting their workforce in doing their jobs in a more efficient or better way. Let me give some examples to make it more tangible. And I start with some bleeding edge technology startup examples, but I'll move also to the more traditional HCM suites that have also been using AI already. I'm starting with Telview. Telview is a startup started in 2017 and has a video interviewing solution that is able to detect tone of voice, facial expressions, emotions, personality traits of the candidate that is being interviewed. It can help the recruiter in a more objective way to make an assessment. I think that's a nice example of where AI is supporting the recruiter instead of obviously replacing it. A second example is in the area of chatbots. I guess most of you have already have some sort of interaction with a chatbot when you are shopping online for something. But also in the area of recruiting, chatbots are being introduced. Wait and Wendy, they have what they call a 24/7 recruiting chatbot. And I think that's quite convenient because most candidates are applying for jobs when outside of office hours, in the evenings and in the weekends. And that's the moment where recruiters are not always available to tackle their questions. Now, an AI-based recruiting chatbot is able to answer the first series of questions. They consider that as the first line of communication, but is also able to capture additional input from the candidate to complete his application profile. The next working day, the recruiter can review the conversations made by the chatbot and take next action. A third example I would like to mention is Textio. Textio is an AI-powered writing tool. It can give you advice on the text or the job advertisement that you have just written and tell you how it will be perceived by candidates. But it can also co-write. If you put some rough ideas on paper, it will help, Textio will help you to put it in clear language that is structured, concise, and has the correct wording in it. Two examples of companies using Textio. One is Procter & Gamble, and they saw a huge increase in qualified applicants after their job advertisements were reviewed by Textio. A second one is NVIDIA. Since they are using Textio, they saw a 30% increase in female applicants, so a more diverse set of applicants applying for their jobs. The fourth example I would like to mention is Twegos. Twegos is an AI-powered data analytics tool that can find correlations in your set of HR data. A trucking company is using Twegos to analyze the reasons or the causes of accidents on the road, and they were already quite successful in reducing the number of accidents. The last example I would like to mention is TechWolf. TechWolf is a Belgium-based startup company that has developed a very promising AI skills engine. But I'm going to talk more about skilling and reskilling and their solution in the next trends. Now, it's unfair to only mention the bleeding edge startup companies that have a solution in AI. Also, more traditional suites like SAP SuccessFactors have already made huge steps in the area of artificial intelligence. If you look, for example, in the area of recruiting, it offers a job analyzer in a similar way as Textio, helping you to avoid gender-biased language, aiming towards a more female or a male audience. But also supports you in job matching and resume matching, where jobs are matched to candidates and candidates are matched to jobs. Or when a recruiter is looking at a candidate's resume within a talent pool, the system will suggest similar candidates that might be interesting as well. So this is where AI supports the recruiter in SuccessFactors. The second option, or the second example I would like to mention is learning recommendations. I guess most of you are familiar with Netflix or similar tools where Netflix, using AI, is making suggestions on the next movies or series that you should watch. SuccessFactors is working in a very similar way. Based on your user attributes, so which job that you are doing in the company, which region that you are based on your learning history, but also based on your user activity in the system, which jobs are you looking for and how did you rate trainings in the past, it will make personalized training recommendations. And the last example I would like to mention is a career path recommender. From HR, you can always outline very traditional career paths. You start with a role as a product specialist, and then you grow maybe in the role of a product owner. That's a traditional path. But SuccessFactors can also analyze which roles people with a similar profile as you are taking in the organization. Maybe most product specialists evolve into a role of business development. And that's also a suggestion that SAP will give you, so you have more options and better insights in what the future could bring in your company. And these are just some examples. In a very traditional tool like SuccessFactors, for those companies that do not want to go for the next level, bleeding edge, startup-based AI company, this might be a sound alternative as well. So this is about the first trend I wanted to mention, which is artificial intelligence already in HR technology. I think it's clear that AI is here already and is influencing our jobs today. The second trend I would like to mention is about skilling and reskilling. 80% of the jobs will change the next 5 years. Also, 73% of the workforce believe that they need to skill, upskill, or reskill within the next 6 months. So skilling and reskilling is very important. Now, if I look at the organizations I work with, they don't underestimate the importance of skilling and reskilling, but they are struggling with the how. They typically have a very traditional approach. They build manually a skills taxonomy or a competency library by doing interviews in the field. Then they connect this to their job profiles, and they also define processes on skill assessment. Should it be a training? Should it be an exam? Should it be a on-the-job observation? That is very labor intensive, And that's why we see with our clients that they do this only once every few years, and some clients do it just really once. The outcome is not very good. It means that your jobs, your skills are getting outdated, your job profiles are getting outdated, but also the knowledge that you have on your employees' skills level are getting outdated as well. And that means that you've actually wasted quite a lot of time and effort. A solution there might be an AI-based skills engine. And that's what you see on the slide here. Let me explain how it works. First, on the input side, the AI engine is already fed with tens of thousands of job descriptions available online. That means that using nothing more than a job title, the AI is already able to make a fairly good assessment of the skills that might be required. Secondly, we feed it with data coming from your core HR system. We're talking about training history, recruiting data, performance data, training in your succession plans, and so on. Together with that, the skills engine is able to make a skills taxonomy, and you already have a job catalog that is pre-filled with skills. The only thing that you need to do is refine it, maybe take out some skills that are not relevant for your organization and add some others. We recommend a layered approach here, that for your critical workforce segment, you do the manual approach with a detailed job profile analysis, but the heavy lifting for the majority of jobs can be done by an AI. Also in the area of the assessment, the AI can help as well. So instead of doing everything using exams, trainings, or on-the-job observations, the AI can make an assessment of the jobs you have today. And also there, a simple validation process might be sufficient to have an accurate picture. What is the final outcome? Well, the outcome is that you have an organizational view of the skills that you need to have in the organization and the skills that you should have in the organization. On a personal or an individual level, we can provide learning recommendations to the individual, but also in the area of recruiting, internal mobility, and succession, we can match people to jobs or jobs to people. I think an AI-based skills engine can really help HR in the area of skilling and reskilling in the next coming years. The next trend I would like to mention is the trends of belonging and well-being. Even before the COVID crisis came, it was seen as one of the top trends that we identified in our reports. And now with COVID-19, it has even become more important. Now, if you want to capture the employees' sentiment, I think I need you to explain the difference between what we call the operational data and the experience data. Most of the organizations have a solid, mature HCM platform and have clear insights on the operational data. They have an insight on their organizational structure, they see the evolution in the attendance and absence data, they see performance scores, retention figures, and so on. But this is just answering the what question. What is happening in my organization? It doesn't answer necessarily the why question. Why are those things happening? Why are the lead times of my recruiting process increasing? Why are my absence rates deteriorating? And to capture that, you need X data, experience data. And this is data that many organizations are not capturing today. Let me tell you a story about one of my clients in the public sector. They had a lot of issues with filling in management positions in their organization. They had clear insights in operational data. They know that their lead time was in line with the market. It was not really longer than elsewhere. They also saw that their comp and ben package was benchmarked with the market, so that could have been the issue. And they also checked other things as well. But they still couldn't figure out why do we have such an issue with hiring the qualified management positions in our organization. So we did some interviews with those people that were actually hired in those positions. And it became pretty clear pretty quickly. It was all about flexibility in the recruiting process. So in a typical public sector organization, a job interview is done via a jury. So you have quite some people that need to be invited to same time and same place. And the recruiter is spending a lot of time on getting those agendas aligned. But they forgot the most important person in the room, which was the candidate. The candidate just received an email saying, "Dear John Smith, you are expecting next Friday from 9 to 10 o'clock for a job interview." Now, that candidate already has a job. His employer is not aware that he is applying for a job, so he can't give a valid reason on why they should change their schedule. When we got these insights, they were very quickly to adapt their process and make it a bit more flexible. Now, we have captured that experience data like months after the facts. Now, imagine if we would capture the data, that experience data, at the very moment that people are experiencing. At the moment when candidates are applying, we just ask you a few questions saying, okay, how did the application go? Was it easy to use? Or when employees are just routed through the onboarding process, that we ask the question, how were you guided? How were your first steps in the organization? Right there, supported by a system providing the right input. I think that would have made a huge impact on the client I just mentioned, but I believe it will also impact your organization as well. Now, it's not just about optimizing your HR processes, making it better. In the COVID-19 crisis, we should look at well-being from a broader perspective as well. Looking at the example of Emeritis, a Deloitte business, our own team, what we did since the crisis is at regular points, we captured the employee sentiment using questionnaires with the right questions. And we got some very interesting insights there. First of all, we detected some practical issues with our employees working from home. They were struggling with a second monitor they were lacking or an ergonomic keyboard, so we were able to solve that. But maybe the most important thing that we solved is that we, in our virtual team meeting, actually shared the insights with our employees and not with the idea like, look, we management have the perfect solution to your problems. No, it was more like us team being together, observing the results, which were honestly not great. The sentiment was not great, and I'm sure that is in many organizations. But the fact that we just had such an open discussion made employees feel that they were not alone. And it also has some interesting face-to-face discussions, well, virtual face-to-face discussions afterwards. And I think that helped employees realize that we were in this together and we were back acting as a team, facing the problems together. And I think that's very important in this situation with COVID-19 in well-being and belonging. And with that, I conclude actually my overview of my 3 trends and how HR technology can support those trends. So as a summary, the first trend I touched was artificial intelligence. It is there already, and HR technology is AI enabled to make your job easier. The second trend was about skilling and reskilling in a quickly evolving world. And the last trend about well-being and belonging and how to capture employee sentiment. Thank you for your time, and I'm happy to take your questions in the following Q&A session. Thank you very much.